is Blank and I've been in Vietnam how many years?
My name is Blank and I've been in Vietnam how many years?
My name is Jason.
My name is Mark.
My name is Kate.
My name is Katina Fox.
My name is Brian.
My name is Natalie.
My name is Katja.
My name is Megan.
My name is Ray.
My name is Bilal.
My name is Dave Fox, and I've lived in Vietnam for 5 years.
For 5 years.
For 2 years.
For 3 years.
3 years.
For 3 years.
5 years.
For 3 years. For almost 5 years.
For 3 years.
The urinating is shocking. You know, I'm walking to school. There's a man peeing next, very near me, all the time. There's someone peeing near you. Any 360 photo would have someone urinating.
What hasn't been? I think there's honestly too many, like, it's so hard to describe, like, all the subtle things that are so different here in Vietnam that are just so strange and different. Like, I can't even, I mean, the amount of closeness that happens when you're waiting in line at City Mart. I don't know, I can't even, like, describe, like, all the little things that happen.
I think this is probably a theme, but it really is the public urination is culturally shocking. And the little kids not wearing diapers and they just pop a squat wherever they want.
Moving here with a 2-year-old blonde hair, blue-eyed. It took a minute to appreciate the fact that they like to touch and paw and actually just take them out of your hands. Because blonde hair and blue eyes is not common here, and they're taking their one chance from a loving stance to embrace that.
Yeah.
And we ran with it. It was good. I had people in the mall grab them out of my hands.
When I first came here, I think one of the first things you notice that everybody notices is the traffic. And I remember on my first trip here as a tourist, as a visitor, the first time I saw a Westerner riding a motorbike in this traffic, I was in awe of the guy, and I thought, how could anybody ever learn how to do that? I never imagined that 7 or 8 years later I would actually be doing it confidently, and that I actually, believe it or not, find it relaxing now. When I'm on my motorbike and there's so much chaos going on around me, I have to tune out any other distractions, any other static in my head, anything that's bothering me. I just push it all away, and it has become a very zen experience. So
yeah, and like
cultural outreach.
Culturally, older gentlemen like to give young kids little undercarriage checks. That's a little bit of a shocker, but we were warned about it, so we expected it.
That's the first I've ever heard of that.
I think for both of us, probably the most shocking thing that we saw was at a typical food market. We saw like a dozen frogs tied together by one leg that were still alive but had been skinned
no
already.
skin, just jumping,
jumping
tied
in separate
together. It was pretty
So
shocking.
I think that was still the most shocking thing I've seen so far.
The sound level of anything that has to do with karaoke. In the streets, at funerals, at weddings, anywhere there is a celebration, there is karaoke. And it's not going to be like a normal level. It's going to be like if you were trying to fill a stadium volume, and then people are sitting like a half a meter away from the like giant amplifier. That shocked me.
I guess what really stands out for me in Ho Chi Minh City is there's a lot of wealth. Vietnam's a very up-and-coming country. There's a lot of exploding wealth in the upper class, right up against very dirt poor, hardworking people. But there's a lot of interaction, cross-cultural. I don't know cross-cultural, but just direct interaction, day to day.
Right.
You know, people aren't as cloistered as they would be in a really wealthy environment in the U.S. or Europe, maybe.
When I first experienced the rain, and it's not normal rain, so that was like one of the biggest shocks was the rain that we had. And the amount of cockroaches that came up after the rain was just really shocking. Like, cockroaches don't scare me, but just after a rainstorm, when they all come out together, you're just surprised at how many there are.
One of the biggest shocks to me was the lack of flavor in a dragon fruit for how it looks. I mean, come on. That thing should knock your socks off, and then you taste it and it's like a bland kiwi. I mean,
I absolutely
seriously.
concur.
question makes me a little sad. I worry that Vietnam is going to be more westernized and we're going to see more McDonald's and Starbuckses and all these brands coming up that I don't think Vietnam really needs.
I see this country, it's come a long way in the 10 years since I first started visiting, and if I look back further than that, back to the 1980s when the country was really struggling right after the war, this country is moving in the right direction in a lot of ways. I think that Vietnam is going to continue to progress, but I think there are two issues they need to address. The rich are getting richer, the middle class is getting richer, the poor are not getting any richer, and so there's this growing wealth gap, and I see that as a potential big problem in the future if it isn't addressed. I also think that Vietnam is behind the curve in terms of environmental concerns, and if they can address both the poverty and the environmental issues in this country, I think that very soon, within the next decade or so, Vietnam could be really on par with much more developed nations than it is right now.
In 10 years, I'm hoping that Vietnam is like Taipei. I hope that it still has its character. I hope that it still has kind of the raw, unapologetic Vietnamese flair, but layered on top of that is an efficiency and an organization that kind of allows things to get done in a way that's not frustrating.
I think Vietnam's going to be a lot like Bangkok with public urination. Bangkok with public urination.
I think there's going to be like 10 more layers of pavement over like all the streets. So as they just like keep building up as the city just continues to sink, and that there's going to be just every pocket and cranny is going to have a high-rise apartment building. So I just think that there's just going to be a lot more infrastructure and hopefully a highway that's maybe like halfway complete.
Saigon will continue exploding in outward growth and developing areas that were formerly, jungles and rice paddies and things. Will keep spreading out, building up. So I don't think it'll be quite the furnace of unrestrained growth that China was. I think it's a little more measured because I just don't think there's quite as much ridiculous capital as there was in China and as much of a bubble. So I hope that's healthy for Vietnam.
I think that they will have this weird mix of like super modern, like Western like cities paired with typical Vietnamese cities, and then people will have to sort of bridge the gap between the two, like planned communities, unplanned communities, but things will coexist relatively well.
I think Vietnam/Saigon and Hanoi still striving to be their version of Singapore, their version of Bangkok, still growing, still building, still trying to get there, but at the same time, like Andy pointed out,
they're a little more down to earth, maybe?
Well, they're going to do their version of it. If they're going to be successful, this is the most resilient people and determined people on the planet.
Absolutely.
Every major force in the world had to take these guys out, and they all lost. But that said, there's a lot of, that's like up here, then there's so many people down here at that poverty level. They're going to do their version of it. So we'll see what happens.
I would like to say that it would be cleaner, etc., but sadly, the way it's going right now, I don't think that will be the case. I think Ho Chi Minh City is going to go through a real rough transition with the amount of cars being put on the road right now. The increase in pollution in the 3 years while we've both been here has been noticeable. We look out our balcony now and it's like, hey, look at that thing over there, and we realize that thing's been there the whole time. You can just only see it 1 out of every 10 days. So I think that for the lives of people, person to person, it will get better, but I think that in terms of things like the environment, your travel times around the city, it'll get much worse before it gets better.
I think that everything will be a lot closer together in 10 years. I think that this area that we're living in, it's pretty far out of the main area of the city, that it'll be even more full of people. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the small plastic share places will be gone, and they'll be replaced with fancier restaurants, but I hope that there are still areas where they'll keep their style and their tiny alley small share restaurants.
I can suggest that an underground, when they finally build it, would make things way better for people without the bikes. But there are, I think, two ways how it's going to develop. One way is like Bangkok, and it's an okay way, or like Singapore. But something tells me it might be more like China, and yeah, the pollution might be an issue, I would say. But I think on overall, people would have a better life, better income, better social opportunities in Vietnam than they had like 20 years ago.
Probably a lot more like Phu My Hung, a lot of high rises, and it'll probably lose a little bit of the flavor and the character, but
yeah, I
guess that sort of comes with development.
I think more development, more cars, more congestion.
Hopefully less pollution, but
hopefully. Yeah.
Interviewing me about
Pho Kim Hong, and it has delicious food.
Awesome. And what is
Experience in Vermont, that's my home state. Vietnam.
It's kind of like Vietnam.
They start with a V. They have mountains. It's all good. Colder in the north. Let's see. Really